This is Earth Soul Medicine, a space for spirituality, connection, and next-level nourishment. Let's see what comes up in this space today. Welcome to Earth Soul Medicine. I'm Samantha, owner of Veil Voyager and author of The Portal Planner, and your host today. Today I'm back with my friend Chelsea. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty great. Hello. How are you, Samantha?
Hello. Good. I don't know. I feel like I'm feeling the change into Leo season. I feel like Cancer season's always, hard. I don't know what it is about it. But there's, a lot going on. And maybe it was, the last full moon was friggin' intense. For everyone in my family and for me, it was just, a lot of challenges came up.
Yeah.
And so, we're on the waning part of that energy.
Right.
And I'm ready for something new.
Well, it just keeps coming round and round again.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it'll be new.
It'll be next year, too, this time. Same energy's flowing in. Isn't that the spiral you always talk about?
That's the spiral.
Yeah.
The spiral dance.
It's funny, too, because I love Christmas. It's probably my favorite holiday. Even though I've been having a lot of existential thinking about Christmas and really what it means to me and what I enjoy about it and how that has morphed as I've aged and become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
But also every year in July, I have the Christmas feels. I got a Christmas in July situation every year. And it's maybe it's the anticipation of Christmas and all the warmth and just nourishment it kind of brings. And I'm I wish I had that right now. And maybe that's Cancer season, right? The nourishment and family and congregating together. But it always seems to outshine actual December. Because I'm always Christmas, I want to hear the Grinch. Let's watch Christmas movies. I want to eat a cinnamon roll, And then December will come and I'm I don't know. It's okay.
This is, what a fascinating train of thought that I can totally relate to, but I never would have articulated for myself. I am so on board with this.
Okay,
there is
great.
A really similar energy signature between Cancer season, the home, family, mother, nurturing energy is what you want from Christmas, right?
The expectation.
I always, what I have noticed in the last few years is that early December, I'm all Christmas is coming, you guys. And I'm envisioning all these fabulous plans about Christmas. And then, I don't know where that came from, but then when I actually get anywhere near Christmas, the week before, I'm just ugh, this is just a bunch of commercial crap anyway. I didn't actually care in the first place because also I didn't have energy to do all those crafts that I dreamed of. And now I'm just beating myself up about that. I needed more things to beat myself up about on Christmas break this year.
Yes.
But yeah, have you ever had an actually Christmas in July party?
No.
I did one time. One of the most fun jobs I ever had was when I was a ranger at the Oregon Caves. And that was just the time of my life. It's a seasonal gig, but
so cool.
And it went well with being a teacher because you could jam on that in the heat of the summer in the cool cave because it's only 40 degrees in the cave year round. Free air conditioning. Nice. And then you go teach during the rest of the year, right? But anyway, it's fun because in a seasonal job like that, a bunch of young people come in and there's dorms up there that most people live in. And it's kind of just a big party. It's probably the closest thing I ever experienced to the college dorm scene of just having a bunch of young people to hang out with after work all day. Even though I didn't even live there. I would drive back down the hill and go live in Takilma. But anyway, we would do all sorts of cool stuff. One year we did Christmas in July and just had a huge Christmas feast and exchanged gifts and had a Christmas party in the middle of July. I don't know why. Someone just thought that'd be a cool idea. And now I always think of Christmas in July, but have never actually done anything about it. But you know what else just happened about Christmas in July? Is that a couple of weeks ago, I got to go away for a week to the Conscious Discipline Institute in Denver. And I had the privilege of going with my co-teacher, aka my work wife, Ariana. And Oh, man, we had so much fun together, and it was really hard to see that week come to an end, but it was so awesome when we flew home from Denver, and my dad picked us up at the airport, and we go to drop her off at her house, and on her front porch, there's, like, Rudolph and the reindeer, and we're like, what is going on? And looking in the windows, there's twinkly Christmas lights, and her sweet kids had held down the fort, they're teenagers, while she was gone, and Leela, is... Sorry, I shouldn't be saying all these people's names. I don't know. It's a total compliment to them.
Yes, it is.
Her sweet kids had decorated her whole house like Christmas and like the full Christmas decorations, everything out of the box just to celebrate Mom coming home. And it was like the coolest thing ever. I was just like drooling with envy from the car. Can I borrow your life for a minute? Right? That's amazing.
You're like, Ruth, come check this out.
Yeah. My homecoming wasn't... It was a great homecoming. It wasn't Christmas.
It rarely ever is.
I mean, those kids set a high bar, man.
That is so cool.
Super cool. And then they cleaned it all up again while she went and took a nap and recovered from the jet lag. What? That's the topper on the cake, the real gift, right? It's one thing to get all the decorations out of the box. Putting them back in is the job nobody ever wants to do until February.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's so true.
Those kids, she did something right.
She really did, because I often see that she'll like post on Facebook that they've made her like tea parties and stuff. And I'm like, what is this?
It's so
I'm like,
cool.
Let me come over. I want to be a part of this tea party. Yeah, that's sick.
You and your mom in your awesome episode, two-parter.
Yeah.
Talked about like how much magic she made for you in your childhood. And I have thought about that conversation so many times since I listened to that episode like a month ago. I just keep considering, I have like feelings on both sides about going all out and making like amazing situations for your like kid to wake up to, or, these days people are like, go pretty far with a whole Elf on a Shelf situation.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's fun. It's super creative. I like it. I have fabulous memories of the things my parents did like that for me.
Oh, yeah.
And also I'm like, I don't know. I don't tend to play that way. Like as a preschool teacher, I have a lot of opportunity,
Yeah.
I don't tend to go nuts about holiday magic, but I feel like I offer magic in a whole other definition of magic. That's the conversation that keeps just going back and forth in my head that I'm like, I don't know why I'm so caught up about it.
You're not the only one.
Cancer season, mother, home, family stuff.
Yeah, really though. Ties it all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same. I'm like, and I couldn't get past the whole like charade of it. Like the whole like straight complete lie.
That is the rub, isn't it? Yeah. That's what really doesn't quite sit right.
Yes, and I'm like, I like to instill in you authenticity through being authentic to you personally. So to like lie to you feels wrong. And just for like eliciting an emotion out of you that I get something from, right? Like I'm providing you this lie so that I can enjoy your reaction.
Huh.
That feels wrong.
It's like, yeah, that doesn't sit right.
Uh-huh.
It's very like being a consumer of your child's childhood.
Yes.
Ugh.
Right? I know. But then I'm also like, wow, it's really magical. Sometimes. You know what was magical? You know what? Because her first few Christmases, she had no idea about Santa. Right. And she woke up. What I loved what my parents did was they would do like a whole setup. So when you got up out of the bed, and they were quote unquote your Santa gifts. So there'd be like this whole display of all this stuff, right? All this stuff they bought and then gave Santa all the credit for. And it was so magical. It was like, whoa, like, look at all this stuff
Right.
for me, and it's all personalized, and it's everything that I love, and, you know, I'm, like, really excited. And so for Peps, I bought all, like, these Disney princess books. They're, like, the golden, whatever, with the spine and golden.
Little golden books.
Little golden books. Thank you, Chelsea.
It's so
preschool
simple.
teacher.
It doesn't even make sense.
The little golden books. And I laid them all out with a little tiara and a scepter. And she got up out of the bed, and I have this wonderful picture of the sheer wonder in her eyes as she just saw these things laid out for her. You know, and it wasn't like tied to Santa in any way.
Mhm.
It was just like this really awesome celebratory thing. But I feel you when you said that it's all consumer based. And I've struggled with this so much because I'm like, everybody likes to get crap. Everybody likes stuff. That's part of the world we live in. We like to buy stuff. We like to buy people stuff. Like, that's how we value things and people and situations, is we put our literal physical value into something, which is money. So you buy them something you think they would like, and that adds value to your relationship. And when you exchange, then it's like an exchange of your relationship. So, like, it's difficult because you're raised that way. It's the society that you're in. And then even, like, this past Christmas, I was like, look, I feel icky buying all your stuff off of Amazon.
Right.
Let's
Ugh,
just
the
go to
struggle
all
is
the
real.
local markets, and you just find something you think I would like, and then we'll go from there. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little disappointing. So I'm like, I got problems with Christmas. I got expectations.
Expectations.
Like, whoa.
Because your rest of your life, you're never gonna. No one's gonna keep doing it like your parents did it for you.
Yeah.
So then, as an adult, there's like always a little bit of like, that was Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really?
Oh, yes.
Well, where was my big fat stocking? Chelsea was a good girl this year too.
Right?
I can only imagine when you're a parent and you're giving it all away. And
Yeah.
just, whew.
Yeah, that's what makes it more fun. Like, as I'm older now,
Right.
is seeing
Brings
her
the
open
joy too.
all of her stuff. But then I'm also just like, I'm just buying her a bunch of
Right.
stuff. That's what this is about. That's what this, like, amazing, beautiful holiday is about, is, like, we eat breakfast really quickly so that we can get to opening all of the stuff that we bought each other.
Stuff.
Yeah.
My dad wrote this. It's an electronic stereophonic whoop-de-doo. Wouldn't you like one too? Only $50. Batteries are not included once you have been whoop-de-dooed. Everything else sucks.
Yes.
It just had to be out there. I don't know if this is meant to be a musical show, but if I'm here, it is now.
It really should be.
Well, next time I'll bring my ukulele.
Yeah.
I'll sing you the Spiral Dance song.
Oh, wonderful.
Anyway, you know what I just keep thinking about is like, and especially this was what was inspired by your conversation with your mom, is like thinking of all the magic we go to create for kids for holidays, you know, that it's easy to find it on Amazon or, you know, like stuff that is sparkly and twinkly. And it's like, you know, the easy pleasure. It's just right there, you know, it's like the low hanging fruit of magic and joy.
Yes.
But what would be the alternative? You know, like what other magic might we spend our time introducing children to if our whole culture didn't just encourage us to, you know, go for like the quick, easy fix?
Yeah, it's so true. And when I think about like the origins of Santa and like all of the origin stories that are out there, it's all like the reason stuff was gifted was because you didn't have anything. There wasn't an Amazon to go to when you needed a toy. It was like a really special thing that someone handmade for you, an elf handmade just for you. And that was the toy you played with for the whole year.
That's like one of your 2 toys that
Yeah.
you own. One from last Christmas, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Because they take such an effort to make. Like, handmade stuff is so valuable for a reason. I wish it was more valuable, like, in wider, like, society, like internet culture and stuff, because it certainly isn't. But then platforms like Etsy exist where you're like, okay, people see the value in a handmade item. And I'd really like to instill that around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a community thing too, like making things and skill sharing. And that's where the crafts come in.
Yeah.
Because my mom is like a crafter.
Mm-hmm.
And she did all the crafts, and I beat myself up because I never get to the crafts. Because I'm like cleaning my home. We got to set up the Christmas tree. It's a whole shebang.
A lot of expectation.
Yeah, like on top of all the other stuff you're doing. Because that stuff doesn't take a break.
Because just normal life doesn't have enough expectation.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
I'd like to do more crafts for sure. I don't think, and this is my struggle, is because it's been so ingrained into me what Christmas is for like Americans in general. I don't think I could be 0 presents. Because I know some families are like, we don't do presents. You know, and my husband's Jewish. So they did Hanukkah and they barely did Christmas. And I remember coming over to his house for our first Christmas together. We had been dating like 3 months. And they didn't do nothing. They were like, they gave each other one gift. And they would just like hand it to them. Sometimes it wouldn't even be wrapped. And they'd be like, oh, thank you so much. And I was like, this is not right. I was like, you're supposed to wake up early. You get to open a whole stocking full of stuff. And then you get like 15 presents after breakfast. I'm like, this is just so wrong.
I'm not seeing any of those boxes checked. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I was like, this is a red flag for me, sir. Like, we're going to have some things to fix here. Yeah, so I feel bad for my husband because he definitely knows the expectation is there. And like you said, I mean, I met him when I was 21. I was barely out of my parents' house. And that's when the magic dies. Is when you're like in college now and you moved out and your mom's like, what do you want for Christmas? And it's like not a thing anymore. And it's not super fun. And I was like so depressed around Christmas for so many years. And my husband was like, what do I do? My husband's like, I gotta buy you a bunch of stuff now. I gotta wrap it meticulously. Yeah. I feel bad for him sometimes.
We are just crazy addicted to stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have this phrase that keeps popping into my mind. I think it's maybe from my Oracle deck that we've pulled from before. Maybe. It's about wisdom gifts. And, like, when I think of some of the best gifts I've gotten, it's from my own mistakes and uncomfortable experiences where, I mean, that's the stuff you can't lose. You can't leave it in a clutter pile. It can't be stolen. It can't be burned. You know, it's like things I've learned, whether like in school, you know, my education, my degree, or just like the lessons I've learned through ups and downs, to me are like the greatest gifts. And I wish there was a way you could transform that into maybe just be like like at Christmas, we reflect upon what we've learned this year. That'd be fitting for that time of year.
It really would.
Or like, wouldn't there be a cool way if you could just like pass on a lesson you've learned? Not that you can never really have someone else learn from.
Right.
They got to do it themselves, but I don't know.
There's got to be some tradition in there somewhere. And like a sharing of stories and stuff, I think is really great for like a Yule tide. And that's where I was kind of like, all of these types of things remind me of more pagan holidays.
I guess that makes sense. This is where I'm coming from.
Yes. And so I've been like, do we just make the switch? Is it just a Yule tree and not a Christmas tree?
Mm-hmm.
And we do more Yule-based activities, winter solstice stuff, which is reflection, and we'll do a Yule log, and we'll like burn and berry ritual, like, and craft making is a big part of like pagan traditions too. So yeah, I've gone back and forth.
When we hike up to the prayer circle on solstice and equinox, for any of them, but at winter too, we leave an offering more than get a gift, which is kind of a cool way to flip that script.
Yes, I like that. And you know that just reminded me, because Thanksgiving is the season for giving. So it's
Quote,
like,
unquote.
Yeah, you like give, and then the next month you get a bunch of crap.
Interesting.
Yes.
How that flows.
I think it like makes you feel more okay with the giving, because you're getting something.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting something later. It's crazy. But again, this is all like, historically Christian-based practices. Because with Hanukkah's all about a story. You light the candle, and I don't know much, okay? Like, I'm usually the one to organize and execute holidays in our house, and I'm not the Jewish one with Jewish heritage.
Right.
And so my husband struggled a little bit with this, so I wish I knew more, or we practiced this more. But it's like a lighting of the candles, and then a story accompanies it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the Jewish holidays or celebrations or rituals that I've been to, this is the norm. So you get a history during, it feels way more ritualistic than like a commercialized.
Keeping that oral history
Christmas.
Alive is no small thing, actually, in today's world.
That's so true. And there's a lot of benefit there. And we don't do that a lot.
So many, like, to be raised in that, there's like so many cool connection and family, like skill building involved in learning how to carry that tradition forward.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there when you think about it.
That's cool. That's something I'd like to keep alive for her, because she has that lineage now, and it's fun for me. And when I think about Malcolm's mother, my husband's mother, she is not Jewish, but she ingratiated herself so well into the passing on of the culture of Judaism. So she became very educated about it, and and through exposure, and like gifted that to them, with her husband at the time. So that's important. And there is like a gift giving component to Hanukkah, but it's not like a Christmas haul, You get like one gift, and usually it's something of significance or like related to the story. And then the last night is where you get something that you really wanted, because it's like a cumulative.
That's so cool.
You made it through all the stories. Good job. And they're like dense. Them stories are dense, and they're sad, because the Jewish people are like, have been through a lot of suffering, like many other cultures and groups of people. But the story lives on with them. So you get to hear about all the suffering. And you're like, wow, I wish this was more upbeat.
It's easy to see how the glamour of Christmas could swallow that up when you pit the two against each other.
Right? Because Christmas is like, Jesus Christ was born. And it's like thank you, God, for this beautiful gift. I guess that's what, Jesus was the gift to us. I don't know.
You're like, ...
Right.
question mark.
Yes. It's funny because I've been thinking a lot about religion. And, like, especially with my mom here, because my mom is still really a big part of the church. And, like, we were raised Christian. And we were raised in the church. And I have a lot of church experiences. Some good, some bad. And I've kind of, like, morphed my spirituality into a different path. You know, but I've just been, like, seeing things around. Or sometimes I see people with signs and it's like Jesus is coming back, or, like, you know, whatever it's called, where he comes back and the world is, like, over.
The rapture.
Yes. And that got me thinking. And they say that, like, God made humans in the image of him. And for me, I see that it reminds me of the whole we're made of stardust thing. Where I see the image is energy. And so if we're made in the image of God's energy, then we are energetic beings. And we are God. Like, if we're made in someone's image, we are a part of that. So when I see those signs like Jesus is coming back, I'm just like, Jesus is here, man. He's like,
right here.
Yeah, he's like, here in you.
And you
here
and me. And you've got some Jesus. And you've got some Jesus.
Yeah.
And everybody gets a little bit of Jesus. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe that wasn't it.
I feel it. I'm here. I'm so here for it. But yes. Yeah, especially when we're, like, really connected and aligned. You know, that's what I feel is, like, the whole in the image of God is, like, when you're in true alignment, like, everything's harmonious and you're, like, you're conscious and you're in your wise mind and you're living from love. That's when Jesus is here.
I'm into it. Preach, sister.
I haven't said the word Jesus in this many times, I think, in like 20 years. So, yeah. I'm just gonna set that down right there.
You're just gonna bask in the glory.
Yes. That's so funny. It sounds like one of those Christian pop songs. Bask in the glory.
I meant it too.
Yes.
Tune in next week for Chelsea on ukulele singing Bask. No, that won't be a tune.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But can I really bring my ukulele and sing a song?
That would be great.
I'm totally doing it. I'm a little out of practice, but this will be a good motivation.
Every time I come to any preschool or children's event and you pick up the ukulele, I'm like, yes. And everyone else is singing along, so I'm like, I can really belt this out and, like, not feel like anybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the best time.
Yeah. Singing with kids is ultimately the best because it's a very low judgment situation.
Yes.
They can't even sing the words, so like feeling pretty good about yourself as a grown-up. And we've all been practicing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star since we were knee-high to a grasshopper, so we've like got that one down. We know all the words. Yes. I know. I love it. You're not the only one who's like, yes, that's the reason I do it, is because it could be like the craziest day of preschool with everyone having 15 different ideas. And you're like, stop doing this. Let's do that. What about, hey, you guys want to? And they just aren't paying any attention. And then you pull out your ukulele and you're like, drum. And they're all, ah, like a heavenly choir just raises out of the children. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It doesn't always go that way, but sometimes it's pretty amazing how you get like this Pied Piper feeling. You're just like leading them around and I feel so powerful. Got a string of 4-year-olds behind me. They think I'm the coolest. Oh, I must be.
Yes.
Yeah. It all started from when I was teaching kindergarten at the Dome School, and this other woman, bless her, Jill, is just the most brilliant children's musician. But she'd come in to a kindergarten day with her guitar, and the whole energy of the day would change like that, right? It would go from chaos to just like, oh, isn't this the sweetest thing you ever saw? I'm like, what is this magic? Oh, it's strings. You strum the strings, and the kids go like sweet mode. I don't know what. It's just it's so cool how it like tunes your brain.
Yeah, for sure. It tunes your energy too. I mean, the whole frequency stuff, like the healing frequencies of 587 hertz,
right,
or whatever, and you're like, wow, that changed my whole mood around.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm like on a whole new headspace, so it's got to be the same for kids.
The last few days I've had the privilege of having some baby time. 2 different babies, I know. One a newborn and the other 5 months. And both of them, when you get them in your arms, and newborns like have this amazing thing with eye contact, right? Where it's like it feels good, but only for a second. It's like so overstimulating for them to have full eye contact sometimes, because their portal is like wide open still. Yeah. And, so they like keep looking away over and over again. But then if you start singing, they just like, their eyes go all wide and their pupils dilate, and they just like the whole song stare deep into your eyes. I did this with 2 different babies in the last week. And then when I get to the very end, oh, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, you're like winding it down. What a wonderful. It's like the baby can tell you're about to sing the last note. As I'm going, world, they're like starting to like look away again, and they can't keep the eye contact anymore. And then I just start up at the beginning and we're back in it. But it's like, it's so like, there's something in us that just, I know, and I have another friend who's on the spectrum and is not verbal and doesn't make a lot of eye contact. But when I'm playing my ukulele, we're like in deep eye contact together and singing the words. And it's super cool how that changes the way your brain is. Yeah.
Yes. It resonates within you. That's really
Love
cool.
music.
Yeah, I heard once, I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking about people who have passed, right? Like across the veil. And this person was like, what you're into when you're alive goes with you. And I think this is why a lot of like Buddhist philosophy is about abstinence, mostly. It's like, don't become addicted to anything because you take that with you. Become obsessed or overly passionate about something because you take that with you. And this person was like, music is there, but the way you hear it, like in a different dimension basically, is totally different. And so there will be people who will stick around to experience music in a new way.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's fascinating to me. That just reminded me of that. Sound is such a big part of our experience here in 3D because it is vibration, and everything we are and do is vibration, but it's like a different kind, Yeah. You have the vibration you see, which are the light waves, and then the vibration you hear. And that's a big deal, apparently.
It is a big deal. It can be so pleasant or unpleasant, like that.
Yes.
I've been becoming more aware of my own sensory needs and sensory integration or lack thereof. And I am so sensitive to auditory stimuli, like when I become overwhelmed and am like kind of in a little bit of a meltdown, overstimulated mode. Like if I've pushed myself really hard in a long work day and just kept the mask on all day, like I'm good to go. Teacher Chelsea is impermeable no matter how many kids scream or how windy the wind is or whatever. Then I go home and I like losing it. And the slightest sound, like another human breathing, is like painful to me. I just like, I'm like a toddler just throwing a tantrum because any sound it becomes unbearable. It's so interesting how it can flip from, I mean, all in balance in all things, but.
Yeah, for sure. Or if somebody's eating.
Yeah.
I remember I was in labor. I was laboring on the couch. And Malcolm was like, well, I got a carbo load before this baby comes. And he poured himself a bowl of cereal and ate it right behind me. And I was like, I'm over here deep breathing. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you if you take another bite. Like, stop fucking eating, like seriously. And he got to a point, he was like, I have to. He was like, you have to deal because I have to eat this. And I'm just like, you can't go to another room? Like your pregnant wife is like laboring on the couch. Yeah,
I call this spot, okay? You take a walk.
Yeah, for real. Like, we have a huge house. Like, go to another room. But yeah, the whole, like, the vibration of sound, too. Because even if you couldn't hear, your cells feel that vibration.
Whoa.
Right? It moves through you. Because even though we have mass, right, and you can feel yourself and you're palpable, you are just like light forms formed together. Like things permeate you, right? Like the sun's rays or radiation, like any type of wave is a vibration. So if it's an auditory wave, it vibrates through you as well. That's why you can like feel music sometimes. Or a lot of the times, really. And it's like music will relax you. It'll pump you up. Like your workout playlist and your sleeping music.
Right.
And all sorts of stuff.
I literally cannot jam on my elliptical if I'm not listening to music at 165 beats per minute.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's
a real
not
thing.
happening. I'm just like crawling along, and then I put on the song, and I'm like, super power, Chelsea, cardio, yeah. I could just rock it, but as soon as that music's not there, it's just like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this.
That's me when I wake up. I gotta have a good like wake up playlist, and if it doesn't have Dolly Parton 9 to 5 on it, it is not gonna be a good day.
I might have to try that trick.
It's so good. So good.
That is a song that'll pump you up.
It really is.
Yeah.
I've been learning about Dolly Parton
I feel a little better just letting it run through my head for a second.
Right? I know. She's so awesome. And I've been like exposing myself to more of her music because her discography is massive. And that's been a fun time.
Not taken that task seriously enough yet in my life.
Yeah,
might have to take a page out of your book on that.
Older stuff.
Okay.
Because she's still making music today. Like, just shooting them singles out. And I was like, more power to you. Look at you go.
Dude.
Yeah, she's impressive. Also so charitable.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's not the only thing she's doing.
Oh, yeah, no.
She's sending out free books to every kid every month all over the world. I love the Imagination Library.
I am such a fan, and I'm like, we're privileged enough to be able to buy our children books and to be located near a library that is open, because that library wasn't always open.
Yeah, I know.
It may not be in the future. Like, who knows what's the future is for that library. But, and unfortunately, they're closed right now for renovation. And so, like, if you don't want to drive an hour and you can't afford to get a book, you're SOL.
Yeah.
Not with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
Right.
Because she'll send you a book in the mail. If you're not familiar, you get a book in the mail for children 1 through 5, I think it is.
Sounds right.
Every month. And it's age appropriate. And it's like a popular book. You know, it's not some like she wrote a book and she's sending it out. And I don't know if I'm like overly hormonal lately or like what's up, but we got the book in the mail the other day, and I just was overcome with emotion. I was like, look. And I ran into the house with the book in my hand and I was like, Malcolm. I was like, Dolly Parton is amazing. I was like, can you imagine all the... Because we got the train, the little engine that could the other day. And like every sentence is, the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. So I'm like, can you imagine all the good little boys and girls of the world getting all of these books? And like, it's such an important initiative and you don't think about it. And then to like see this in communities like ours, I'm just like, yes, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Because books are expensive.
Yeah.
And everything for children is expensive. And so when you're on a tight budget, you're like, we don't have money for the book. We got to buy shoes or food.
They're going to read that like 5 times and then they're going to be done with it.
Exactly.
Also, there's something to be said for quality in children's literature.
Yes.
And she sends good books for the most part.
Yeah.
There's been 1 or 2 I'm not highly impressed by, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
And what you do end up with, because books are expensive, is a lot of like crap books.
Yeah.
Like what I see more than anything on most kids' bookshelf, like of the home collection, is a lot of Disney books, which is weird that I am so critical of because I am a huge Disney fan. Don't get me wrong. Disney movies are my jam. Like I watch Lion King and Little Mermaid regularly. These days, it's like there's like literally no more comforting thing to me than to like start my day and while I'm like making the coffee and I'm gonna go out and journal and meditate and do the things, but first I just need to watch a little bit of Disney movie because it's like Saturday morning cartoonies and then the world is a good place. I'm obviously a preschool teacher anyway. But to turn all those movies into books, those books are total crap. They have no value whatsoever. And it's just...
Yeah, it's a bad retelling.
And that's like... I've experienced this recently because opening a school, so many people are like, what materials do you need? Do you need me to donate? I have a ton of old children's books. And at first I was like, yes, donate me children's books. And then I just kept getting bag after bag after bag of like, Dora goes to the zoo. And I'm like, no, save that for your time with the screen. Dora's cool. She's cute, but she's not quality children's literature.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and I think it was 10 Ways to Hear Snow Fall was one of the books that was sent. And it was in English and Spanish.
Yeah. They do a good job of the multicultural aspect.
Yeah, they do.
Which is important.
Impressed. Yes.
Really important to make that representation a thing early on.
Yes. And luckily Malcolm can read some Spanish because his dad is fluent. And I was like, man, you ain't fluent? Like you have a fluent parent and you didn't think, maybe I should become fluent in Spanish? I'm just like, why didn't you do it so I can learn from you? But that was a poetic book. And Malcolm loved it so much, like, she gets to pick storybooks out for bedtime, and he's like, can we please read 10 Ways to Hear Snow Fall? And she's like, I guess. Sure, Dad. You can pick tonight. But yeah, it was really, really nice. And we should read more books like that, for sure. Because it's so easy. The pull into the Disney book is already established because they're watching the movie, right? So they know what they're doing. You walk into Oregon Books and Games, and they got all, like, the Frozen books and blah, blah, blah. My kid is like, I want that. I want to buy that book. We have plenty of Disney books.
What sucks about it is how it robs you of an amazing opportunity to use your imagination. Because if you read a book that you've never seen the screen version of... Right. You and I both could have read the same book and we would have like different versions in our mind of what that character looked like and what the environment looked like. And when someone's just reading it to you or you're reading it for yourself, you're like creating the images in your mind that back up those words, right? Yeah. But if you're reading, about Finding Nemo's adventure through the sea, like I just did this. I just put a kid down for a nap before I came here, and I read them Finding Nemo's Adventure into the Sea, and I'm like, doing the voice. I love Finding Nemo too, so I'm like doing the Marlin and the Dory voice, and making it like, let's ride the EAC, dude, right? And then just like dissing myself in the back of my mind because it's like I'm just recreating what she's seen on a screen. I'm not offering her an opportunity, and maybe when I'm trying to put her to sleep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I like
it's like it's so easy to be critical of. I also love falling asleep with the TV on, so like I don't know. It's not like screens are absolutely evil, but I'm also just nutty about the potential of children's development and what you could do with their brains, and then I judge everything by that standard.
Yes. Well, I love that you brought that up because I didn't even think about that, like the robbing of imagination. And it's funny because we took her, I think it was a year ago or something, for her 3-year-old checkup. You go to the pediatrician or whatever, and we're lucky to have like a very experienced family nurse practitioner here in pediatric care specifically. And so when you go to the appointment, you get a free book. And so she opened the book, and it was a book based off of characters from a TV show, but she had never seen it. And so the doctor would be like, "Who's this? What are they doing?" And I'm over there in the corner like anxious mom, like, she doesn't know that. We've never read this book. And she's like,
"This isn't an authentic assessment."
Yes. I'm like, "You don't truly know my kid." But she's like, no, like, this is an opportunity for her to make up a story about the character. And I was like, oh, snap. I was like, I don't know everything. I'm like, that was eye-opening for me, and really cool, too, because then it made me want to go home and do the same thing.
Right.
Like, what story can we create about this?
I just learned about an assessment method to determine if someone is on the spectrum. This might apply more to adults than kids, from the context I was learning about. I don't know. Haven't done my research, but the person was asked to read a book and tell the story. But the thing that the assessor was looking for was not about the quality or the content of the story. It was about whether the reader connected with the listener through the story, or whether they're just like, in the story, telling it to themselves, having a great time, doesn't give a crap about the person listening. Yeah. That would like tell you a lot about their social interaction too, right? Yeah. So it's always so interesting how when someone is assessing something, there's so many things they could be looking for, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like defensive mom too.
Be hard not to be.
Yes. And especially because she had a little bit of like late development with speech. And I was real defensive about that because someone had commented about it, and I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And if you could see my face, I literally made this face. I was like, no.
Squishy face.
Yes. And then poor Mal, my husband took our daughter by himself for this assessment, and that was a friggin' mistake. And it'll never happen again because I think he's fiery. He has a lot of fire in his chart, and it'll happen quickly, right? And so he's defensive parent too. So he was like, no, like, number one, you're not assessing her right. Like, he would know how to assess children with all of his experience. He was like, no, you're not assessing her right. And you're like cornering her in the room. Like, she feels scared. Like, there's no way you got a good assessment of where she's at from this happening.
Right.
And he like turned up on this lady. And
I
was
totally
like,
picture
okay,
what that would inspire for him.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, number one, you're a tall man. And you have a deep voice, and you don't know what it's like to be small and weak. And I'm sorry, but that's what life is like if you're a lady here on Earth.
Sad to say, it's true.
And I'm like, you gotta know this before you interact with people of the opposite sex. Like, you gotta simmer down. And like, he recently got this note at his job too. And I was like, yeah, you gotta... Because you can sound scary sometimes. Like, you're a good 4 inches taller than me, and I'm considered a tall lady. But anyway, he basically got in a straight fight with this practitioner and like stormed out. And I was like, no, because they like want you to come back
Right.
for another assessment. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to go to this. And we enter the room and it's so like that tension is there
Right.
where he's like, I already don't like this lady.
Yeah.
And the lady's like, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
And like she's never met me before, but she knows that I'm married to him. So it's like not a good look for me starting out. Right? She's like, I don't know about you. You're married to this guy. But yeah, she was like, it's my recommendation you go for speech therapy. Which was like a freaking heaven sent opportunity because it's so hard to get your kid
Right.
into speech therapy.
Yeah.
And they have like a 1-year-long to 2-year-long wait list.
Especially in the era that your kid is living in. Since COVID, that is is
Yes.
a terrible situation. A lot of kids getting video speech therapy,
Oh, yes.
which that's gonna work for a preschooler. Anyway, go
Yeah,
on.
we did that a couple times and it was not super effective. Also, you can't hear as well. You can't hear what they're saying. I'm like, she's
Very
making an S
problematic.
sound, man. Trust me. Like, but yeah, I don't remember what exactly we were talking about that brought up the whole speech.
The
thing.
assessment process.
The
and
assessment process.
It didn't go well on the first one with Malcolm, but
It did
then you got to
not.
come along the second time.
Yeah, and it's funny how everyone has an opinion too about an assessment that has been done.
Oh, yeah. They
Because
sure
the
do.
end of the assessment was she has a tongue tie. This is probably contributing to her delayed like speech development. And then like we have people in our life who have a medical background and they're like, she does not have a tongue tie. And I'm like, really? Because a pediatrician told me so. So like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about your angle, your perception.
Yeah.
It's everyone's going to see a situation like that through their own lens.
Yeah, so true. So true. Like, even the disagreement between speech language pathologists and ear, nose, and throat specialists, they disagree so vehemently on to release a tongue tie or not to release a tongue tie.
Right.
And, like, each one, like you walk into the speech pathologist and they're like, you 100% need to release this tie. Like, even if you have to put her under anesthesia and she's 3, you need to release the tongue tie. It's going to benefit her later in life. Like, all of these things will improve. And then the ENT is like, any surgery on a child is not good. And then you're like... Even if you take a moment to process what they're saying and like weigh the pros and cons yourself as a parent in the room, they look at you like you're dumb.
Right.
They're like, there's no thought process that needs to happen here. I'm 100% right.
I see this every day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, okay, the both of you think totally different things and are judgmental.
So that's helping my process.
Yeah.
How about we all just get in our better brain states here?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Nothing will compare to the whole, like, vaccination situation, though. That was one of the worst experiences of my motherhood so far.
Yeah, I bet. It was a nightmare figuring it out for yourself, much less for a new baby in your world.
Yeah. And people are not nice to you.
Right. That
Whatever
was a
you
hot
decide.
topic.
Yes, and this was before the pandemic.
Right.
Where things were like...
Oh, just good old vaccinations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, you're a bad parent. And you're like, my kid is 5 months old. And you want to pump them full of 7 vaccinations. And, like, there are so many, like, we saw so many differing opinions of people who were like, you got to get them all at the same time. And then the other guy's like, you get one at a time and you space them out 6 months apart. It's normal. It's called a delayed vaccination schedule. And I was like, I feel so comfortable with this. And then you go to your primary care and they, like, bully you. And I remember crying. I remember this lady was like, why wouldn't you just get them all at once? She was like, you're going to make your kid cry every 5 months because you want to delay. I was like, and listen to me. This is postpartum. Okay. So like, I don't have it in me, man.
Right.
I don't have the fight. And I'm questioning myself because this is all new for me. This is like another decision I got to make after the freaking hundreds of decisions I had to make in pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there staring at her like, you made me cry. You made a new mom cry over a freaking
Hope you feel
vaccine.
real good about yourself, huh?
Yeah. Just like, what? But I was so embarrassed for crying, too. And then luckily my husband was there and he was like, we're good. We're just going to leave. And I was like, thank you. And then I went and freaked out in my car.
Right.
Good time.
Fun stuff.
Good time that.
How about just a little acceptance of people's choice and bodily autonomy?
Dude,
Just
I
a thought.
know.
I don't know.
I know.
Seems helpful.
People get crazy.
We're just so attached to our beliefs.
Yes, we are.
Man.
We
Our
are
things
so
and our
attached.
beliefs. These are our things. We just hold
This
it
is
tight.
who we are.
Yeah.
Our things and our beliefs.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? That's been on my mind, too. Attachment to our beliefs. Because of the political climate.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like ongoing. It's like every year there's just like a big explosion in the political climate. And there's like things to talk about. And man, post 2017, I've just taken a big step back. Like I used to be really activated politically. Like in college, it's really just like a normal thing to be like activated and you protest and you go on marches and stuff. And since we moved to Oregon, I've just been like, man, I need a break. Like this spectacle is too much for me.
Yeah.
And Malcolm's kind of been, my husband's been the exact opposite. Like he's been like way more involved and he's like, I have opinions now about these things. Because when we first got together, he was just like, whatever, I'm going to smoke my joint, take a couple shots, and none of this will matter. But now he's like, things really matter to him. And so he'll have something to say to me about it. And I'm just like, I don't have much to say back to you.
Right.
And also, I totally disagree with what you're saying. But here we are. We're married. This is happening.
It's a good place to practice. Not just letting people can believe what they want to believe.
Yep. Yes, it's been a...
There's some things that my wife and I have pretty different. I mean, there's a lot we're on the same page about, and there's a lot we have pretty different opinions about.
Yeah.
It doesn't change love.
Yes, it doesn't change love.
Can make for some tense moments, some uncomfortable conversations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can practice that at home, it's a lot easier to practice it in the rest of the world.
It really is.
The people who you're
Yeah.
attached to, and like we were talking about in another episode, just like how easily we're triggered by our people
Yeah.
being triggered. Like, you're having feelings about my feelings? What? How dare you? You know,
Yeah.
like you feel differently than I. Oh, cool for you. I don't
Cool
even
for
actually
you.
need to tell you how I feel. I just will notice and not judge. Just hold lovingly that we have different opinions. That's a
Yes.
serious exercise right there.
Yeah, it is.
I'd probably rather stack 2 cords of wood.
It'd be less mentally taxing.
It would really be so
Yeah.
much less labor, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we have come to our hour, and I want to thank you for being here with me today. You can catch Earth Soul Medicine on the air Fridays at 3 p.m. PST at KXCJLP 105.7 and 101.3 FM, and streaming on Spotify and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at Earth Soul Medicine and Instagram at Earth Soul Medicine Podcast for updates and clips of episodes. Thanks for sharing space with us today, and we'll see you next time.